Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Maribel Blue Unfiltered. This is the end. No, this is not the end of Unfiltered. This is the end. We are talking about the end of Shanae on The Bachelor and the end of Alyssa and Chris on Married at First Sight. But before we begin, I want to welcome everyone to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment on these shows and everything that's going on in those in these relationships. It is just insane. I'm excited to have you here. So let's get into The Bachelor. So last week I originally recorded something, and when I was playing it back, I'm like, this is so awful. It was just really bad. Sometimes not all of my blogs come out perfect. There are thoughts that I want to express and pinpoint. And I don't know, maybe it was just the mood I was in. It was just not working out. So this is going to be a little different. It's going to be less of me, more of playing out different scenes of everything that happened on this particular episode. So we're going to talk about the end of Shanae, and then we're going to talk about Mara and all of her complaining antics that happen on this particular episode. So let's get started. Last Monday night, we said goodbye to Shanae. I'm not surprised. It was her turn to leave, but how amazing that she lasted this long to begin with, especially when Clayton wasted no time getting rid of Cassidy and Claire early on when he found out about their inconsistencies. But let's be honest, it's villains like Shanae who make for good television. Does she not? Monday night didn't leave us high and dry in the drama department as Shanae and Genevieve went on their 2-on-1 with Clayton. I was already feeling like Clayton was going to get rid of Shanae anyway. It was just a matter of how the drama was going to play out. So we got some airtime of Shanae pontificating her disdain for Genevieve and the other women in the house. And she plotted in her mind how she was going to get rid of them and win while continuing all of these stupid dances. Like, what is that? What are we doing here? And then describing Genevieve as a chihuahua and making insinuations about being dumped over Niagara Falls. Like, it's funny because I'm watching and I'm like, okay, we, the audience, are secretly laughing because we've already seen the upcoming promos early on. And we all know Shanae doesn't even make the final three, let alone the final four. The good question is, did Shanae actually think she would be going home at all? Think about it. Wasn't she bragging on how she didn't give Elizabeth and Ciara roses? And she was the one who sent them home? What show is she on? And to make things far worse, why is E covering articles like who are the best top villains on The Bachelor? Like they have her on a list. I think E needs to stop celebrating this bullshit, if you ask me. This isn't villain behavior. Let's get real about this. There is something wrong and she may need some help on her behavior. One of the things that I had mentioned, and I may have mentioned in past blogs that I talked about, where are her friends and family to address these issues? Something isn't right when you come off this way. This is not about a woman knowing her worth or being empowered. Bless you, kitty. My cat is sneezing in the background. Something isn't right. Again, this is just my own personal opinion. I am not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing her in any way, shape, or form. But if I had a friend like that who is behaving that way, one of two things is going to happen. One, I'm not going to be their friend anymore. Or Two, I'm going to say something and say, listen, something isn't right. Maybe you need to talk to a professional, figure out what's going on. If that doesn't happen, then we're just going to go back to point number one. And in addition, in real life, it's not good to be a villain and be looked upon as some like a foolish lunatic hungry for camera time. That's not building a relationship, if you ask me. Like something isn't right there. So let's line out the behavior that has happened, what, like for the last 4 or 5 weeks. She fake cries, she fake apologizes, she lies about being bullied, she lied about not getting any shrimp. And when she did, she claimed to offer, and Elizabeth secretly told everyone to ignore her. And then to add insult to injury, making excuses as to why she threw that trophy, and Clayton just bought the whole story, or so we think he did. And now here we are on the 2-on-1. Should we all be surprised? We should be savoring in every moment of more of her bullshit behavior and fake tears. And that's what everybody in the audience was doing. And as she's sharing the sob story about failed relationships and how she's never been in love, well, of course, why would she ever find love when she doesn't even love herself? And while she's bantering on and she pauses, she does that head thing again, because she's trying to fake all of these tears and making herself cry and talking about how difficult it is. With all throughout this show, we have seen that everybody who cries eventually ends up getting a rose in one form or another, until I guess at the end of the day, the person is not interested in them anymore, and they can cry all they want, but if the person is not feeling the connection, then moving on. Now, this is what cracks me up, because the whole time she's doing all of these acting, whatever it is that she thinks that she's doing, Clayton has a one face. Now, look at the face that he had when he was talking to Genevieve, and then look at the face that he had when he was talking with Shanae. So then, for good measure, she goes and she throws in that Genevieve was an actress and claimed that she was packing her suitcase, expecting to go home because she had overheard her and the other women while she was trying to take a nap, how they were bad mouthing her yet again. And here's Clayton's face, the same face, that face of, I'm not believing this bullshit anymore. I think it was at this point that Shanae didn't realize she fucked up. With now having spent enough time with Shanae and Genevieve, Clayton finds himself sitting in between crazy and perhaps an actress, picks up the rose, and questions Genevieve about her intentions if she's acting. Of course, Genevieve, she's shocked because she's not privy to the bullshit that Shanae just shared. And Shanae's sitting there with a smirk on her face, thinking to herself, this is the end for Genevieve. And that she was sure that she was going to get the rose. Clayton plays confusion, unless he was really confused, because who the hell knows, says that he needs a moment to himself. So he steps up, he walks away. You see him walk away. He's standing like in a field of some sort. And then he comes back holding the rose. And he says,
I want to reiterate that I appreciated both of the conversations that I had today. With that being said, the rose today is going to somebody who helped me see the truth in all of this. So, Shanae, I just am so sorry, but I cannot find it in my heart to give you this rose. So, Genevieve, will you accept this rose?
without looking back, they both kind of just like jet out of there. They want nothing to do with Shanae, who's sitting there. She looks flustered, she looks shocked. You see anger setting in her face, like, how could this happen? I thought I had everything in the bag. She didn't have shit in the bag, to be honest with you. And did she not realize in that moment that she had zero control over who gets the roses? Like, this is not her love journey. This is Clayton's love journey. So, once again, let's review why women like this are on the show. Simply for the drama. She really like this? Why would we regard her as a villain? Yes, granted, in situations such as these, there will be insecurities. However, yet another when there's a person solely there to hurt others because they don't like themselves. This is a problem. This would be the only reason why producers of this show have people like Shanae and many others who have crossed those mansion doors whose intentions wasn't sincere from the beginning. As we all say good riddance to Shanae, she doesn't leave us without yelling out profanities about Clayton and how she never wants to see him again. Trust me, Shanae, I'm sure Clayton doesn't want to see you again either. I'm not even sure why he allowed himself to make out with you after that very moving performance from Titanic. Now that that drama's over, oh, wait, here comes Mara. You know, the good woman. I'm ready to settle down and be in a relationship and have a family. Yeah, that one. Mara has spent weeks chronically complaining about not getting time with Clayton. What has she been doing all of this time? Well, for one, she's been complaining about not getting time. She also has it out for Sarah, mentioning in every sentence about being the youngest in the house and how Sarah may have mentioned how she's not looking for anything long term and annoyed with Clayton putting so much attention on her. But did anyone catch as she was complaining? Serene made a face, and we're going to get back to that in a minute because Serene is probably fed up. Mara has spent most of her time on group dates similar to Teddy, and Teddy got the first impression rose. During the Toronto dates, Mara used her one on one time to feed Clayton some food, but she didn't even get a chance to try it herself when Serene came prancing in and disrupting their one on one. And then there she was complaining, I only had 3 minutes. I only had 3 minutes. And she leaves in complete frustration, crying her eyes out to Marlena. Marlena goes and comforts her. Serene didn't care. She pulled that bitch ass move on purpose. So let's wrap this up. In short, my take on Clayton's journey is he has spent more time trying to dissect who's being real and who's not. Had women tell him shit about other women, which left him opening up a can of worms, like over and over and over again. From what I've heard, people have been speculating that Susie is the one where Clayton finds something really horrible. I don't know if it's something that she lied about. I'm actually thinking that it's Gabby, but I have no idea. Like I said, I'm not cheating because I'm just really trying to be authentic in what it is that I'm sharing with you. So goodbye, Shanae. You will not be missed, and hopefully you will get the help that you need. Now we're going to move on to Married at First Sight. This week on Married at First Sight, everybody is going home and not necessarily to their home, but they have like these neutral apartments, like it's like a neutral ground so that they can continue working on their marriage. Now, I'm not going to talk about everybody. I'm talking specifically about Mark and Lindsay and of course Alyssa and Chris, who have been burning up the blogs since all of this transpired. And again, everybody is calling Alyssa names. And I just want to break it down a little bit because I also don't feel that Chris is a victim in all of this. They keep comparing Alyssa to Chris from the Atlanta season. And I don't know. I just see a little bit of difference. I just feel like Chris from that season, he was definitely some kind of a player looking to get on television. I don't think that Alyssa was doing that. She didn't bring another man into the picture. You know what I mean? It didn't go on like for weeks on end, her playing Chris, so to speak. But I do think that her her communication remains to be seen. She definitely did not share what was really going on, and whatever information that she was finding that was getting back to Chris, she should have shared with him from the beginning, especially when this Nick guy came along and he made this comment about Chris being, he can come off condescending, but he's really not because he's trying to teach you what have you. His friend is also a hot mess, but I'm talking about them. I really wanted to talk about Mark and Lindsay. Lindsay has concerns because she's saying that she sees two sides of Mark, the Mark that we're seeing on the camera and the Mark that we're seeing off camera. Now, Mark has a little bit of challenges going on. Apparently, he had a bed bug infestation in his apartment. And while they were out in Puerto Rico, the landlord had to come in and basically get rid of things that I guess needed to get rid of. And the same way Mark felt when they went in there and like Lindsay was touching things, I think it was the same probably feelings that were projected, that here he is in an island and he can't really be there to have a hands on to get rid of what needs to be discarded. So of course when they get to his apartment, the furniture is missing, it had to be removed, the bed had to be removed, the TV was still there, there was still things that were there. And I guess for Lindsay trying to help him, her question was, and I wrote it down, she kept asking him, does it bring you joy? And I guess in that regard, if it doesn't bring you joy, then throw it out. Lindsay wouldn't want to be in my house because let me tell you something. I keep everything under the sun. Like I have diaries going back to the 80s. That's how sick I am. So fast forward to Pastor Cal's visit because now everybody is settling in. Pastor Cal is making his rounds and checking up on everybody, what's going on with the communication. He sees Mark and Lindsay, and Lindsay shares that there is a disconnect with Mark. That one day he was like this lovey dovey person, and now he's pulled back. And when Mark shares his feelings. Like one of the notes that I wrote here was Pastor Cal told Mark that he was afraid. And when Mark starts to share about his feelings, he talks about the day of the wedding, how exciting it was. And then on their way to Puerto Rico, he sees like a different side to her. And that kind of made him take a step back like, what's going on here? I don't understand. This is not the person I think that I want to get with. Now, while they admit that they've consummated their marriage, I'm trying to be like clean over here, that they've consummated their marriage and they've been intimate with one another, now all of a sudden Mark wants to take like 10 steps back and not be as intimate. He feels overwhelmed. He's having all of these different feelings. And then he mentions, and this is what I wrote in my notes, he respects her enough to say what it is that he's going through, that he wants to take things slow. But at the same time, Lindsay is feeling like you want to take things slow, but you pulled back so much that now I feel like I'm not having an intimate partner. Like you don't want to be intimate with me and what's going on with that. And yes, I can understand being in a disaster and feeling like, well, what's wrong with me? And then you find out that there is nothing wrong with you, that that other person doesn't like the opposite sex. They may like the same sex, and there's nothing wrong with that, but don't waste my time. Do you know what I'm saying? That shit show always comes in somehow, some way. But like I said, when I'm talking about these things, I'm going to offer my personal experience because it wouldn't be authentic. if I didn't share my own personal experiences. So when Pastor Cal, and this is the part that had me cracking up, when Pastor Cal asked, how does that make Lindsay feel when he's asking her right away, she's like, oh, I got to sift through the bullshit. And she's getting upset. And Pastor Cal's like, do you know like what Mark is saying? Like, I understand what he's saying. Do you understand what he's saying? And she goes, I don't know what he said. Everything to me sounded like a run on sentence. For real? Are you not listening to this man at all? And I also have concerns about Mark. Like, you can't be like a light switch. You can't just decide one day you're going to be like this, and the next day, I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to be intimate with you. Pulling it back some doesn't mean that you pull back entirely and now you start treating that person like a complete stranger. Pulling it back means, okay, you want to take it slow, let's go out and date, let's do different things. They have free reign now, they're in this neutral apartment. Go out, get to know one another. Yes, it's difficult because literally these people are like one day single, the next day not. Now you have to take on the responsibility of another person. That's a big thing. That is very, very um a very big sacrifice to make. And then here's the other thing, Lindsay has cats. Was she not talking about Mark's cats? I thought she was allergic to cats. Meanwhile, she has cats of her own. Now let's get into Alyssa and Chris. And I didn't have time to put it on my cards. I literally wrote it in my notebook. So I'm trying to just get this video out as soon as possible. So one of the things that Chris has made statements about, things that he's heard in the grapevine, things that I had mentioned early on before, things that have gotten back to him that he hasn't been able to address with Alyssa. He has no way of contacting her. He doesn't have her phone number. He probably doesn't know where she lives. And he wanted to question all of these things, but of course, Alyssa is not available for comment. What's going on here? It's very, very simple. Alyssa is not into Chris. And instead of just telling these experts, look, I walked down the aisle. The first thing I saw was Snaggletooth. I saw a belly hanging out. I didn't see an eagle tattoo. And I'm being sarcastic with the eagle tattoo. But you get what I'm saying. She saw a vision of a man that she didn't want to spend the rest of her life with. And can you fault somebody for that? No. However, to make all of these insinuations of, well, 4 weeks, you'll be there, and then I'll be there the rest of the 4 weeks. Like Pastor Kyle said, this is a marriage. And in order for you to make things work, both of you have to be in it together. Stop lingering around. Maybe in her mind, and I was even thinking, maybe in her mind, she was saying, maybe this can work out. Maybe I'm just being overly dramatic. I'm a good person. Like, if you're a good person, you really don't have to say that. It kind of comes out in your personality that you're a good person. It's the same way like saying, I'm a humble person. You don't have to make that statement. It will be shown through your personality that you are a humble person or that you are a giving person. Nobody needs to make a statement about I'm a good person, because right now, Alyssa, you don't look like a good person. But at the same time, for me, neither does Chris and his friend, because they're sitting there mocking her about this whole psychic thing. And I take that personal because I do tarot readings. I listen to other tarot readers, and I have seen tarot readers. Some haven't, some were not accurate, some were very accurate. To my surprise, when I thought a relationship was going to go one way and they were like, yeah, you're going to leave this guy. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm totally in love with him. And I broke it off with him. It broke my heart, but I did for the betterment of myself. And you know what? She saw something that I didn't see. So when his friend Nick was making all of these jokes about it, I was not impressed. That would be somebody that I would not want to go out with. I mean, he is the epitome of condescending. So he probably saw Alyssa and didn't like her for whatever reason that is. And this is what I said from the beginning. I really believe that he did something to put thoughts into her head to make Chris look like a bad person, when probably Chris is not a bad person. But at the same time, like I said before, I just feel like there were some things about him that were kind of annoying. So when he was having this conversation with his friend Nick about, oh, well, she mentioned the politics and she mentioned the tattoo and blah, 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 blah. No, Chris, this is not about politics. This is not about a tattoo. This is about that she's not into you. End of story. That's what it all comes down to. She walked down the aisle. She saw something she didn't like. She tried to push past it. I did the same thing too. I didn't get married, thank goodness. But I try to push past certain features, certain body types, and I was thinking to myself, well, I could get through this. It's going to be fine. When I put on heels, so what if I'm taller than him? It's just, maybe I'm superficial too. I don't know. But I couldn't push past certain things physically and also emotionally and mentally. But my relationship was really a disaster and I was with a terrible, terrible person. So that's a whole other animal right there. As far as Alyssa and Chris is concerned, maybe she did try to push past those physical things that she saw in Chris, and she just couldn't find herself to do it. And it was upsetting because every time she was in his presence, there was something happening in her that she just couldn't follow through. So for her to make these, like I said before, let's do the 4 week, 4 week. No, like Pastor Kyle said, this is not about living apart. If you're going to make this relationship work, then you have to do it together or get a divorce. But don't leave this man lingering around. Listen to the excuses that she made. Oh, you have a dog. I'm allergic to dogs, but you have a dog. That doesn't make any sense. That's like me saying, I'm allergic to cats, but I have cats. So what if you've had your animals for X amount of time and you've gotten used to whatever? That doesn't make any sense. And by the way, you don't get allergic to hair. You get allergic to the dander on the animal. That's what people are allergic to. In short, Chris felt that Alyssa checked out. And she did. She wanted nothing of this relationship. And I think somebody like Elijah, somebody like Lindsay should really stop offering their opinions because they need to look at their own behaviors in their own relationship. Elijah is living in this unrealistic world that he expects his wife to be in the kitchen cooking dinner for him and having dinner. Now, like I said, and I probably cut this off in my last video, I don't mind cooking for my man as long as it's a man who's deserving of it. And there's nothing wrong with going out to dinner periodically. But if you're in this mindset where she has to be in the kitchen cooking for me all the time and I expect dinner every night, you're going to have to come to the realization both of you work, both of you have to take care of expenses, and sometimes a person cannot be in the kitchen cooking and all day long so that you can have a proper home cooked meal. As far as the other couples is concerned, I just want to put in a comment here because I was tweeting very sarcastic tweets about Noi and her. I have to have 3 kids. I'm not sure what that is all about. She has to have 3 kids, but then she's in conflict because Steve is not working, and this experience that she had of not having enough food or enough money. I can't remember off the top of my head because I kind of fast forward through all of that. But here's the thing, you can't have it all. Like, what if I came out and I had, I said, I'm going to be in a relationship and I want to have 9 kids? No ifs, ands, or buts. It has to be 9. Can't be 8, has to be 9. Come on. What if you can't have 3 kids? What if one is enough? No, people need to get it together here. Then Michael and Jasmina, what's going on with that? How Michael gonna tell Jasmina, oh, I never lived with a woman, but your roommates are women? Is he answering in the sense that he's never lived with a woman that is intimate with? You're living with women. I don't even have an answer for that. I really don't. I don't know where any of these relationships are going. It is clear that Alyssa and Chris are over because Chris made a statement. This is my decision day. He wants a divorce, and rightly so. Why should he stay married with somebody who doesn't want to work on a relationship? Now, if she wants to be television, there are other programmings of reality TV that she can sign up for, and she can take all of her drama there. I'm sure that there's other shows that include single people who she doesn't have to be married. I know that's being mean, but come on, if you want to be on reality TV, I'm sure there's a whole lot of shows that she could apply for. I mean, isn't there like Big Brother? You don't have to be attached to anybody on that show. I'm just saying. So, with all that being said, this is Maribel Blues signing off. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and comments on The Bachelor and Married at First Sight. Please, again, don't forget to subscribe. I'm building up this channel, and it's really, really important that you subscribe and hit that like button and comment and get a conversation going. And that's basically it. So, with all that being said, always remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.